Hey YouTube, Sergeant Savinelli for another installment of my Good Eats series. Smoking Friday Savinelli. Did you hear that, John? I called this a Friday Savinelli. My Savinelli saxophone, Roma Lucite. See, that's the reason why I called it a Friday Savinelli just then, because this is the same basic design, colors and materials as Matches 860's famous Friday Savinelli. I'm just losing my mind altogether, I know it. Anywho, today's installment is a recipe that is very near and dear to my heart. It is something that my mother made, not so much on a regular basis, but often enough to where it wasn't just a treat. You know, it was more than just a couple of times a year or once a year. She probably made it a half a dozen times a year. But boy, when she made it, I could wipe out the entire dish in one sitting. Let me get some fire going here. I'm smoking some Dunhill Elizabethan mixture in the Savinelli saxophone today. Okay, so today's recipe is for a dish which my mother called very simply Parmigiana. Now, Parmigiana is the correct Italian way of saying Parmesan. And this is actually a true Italian dish that the name Parmigiana can be attached to. I know it's going to be hard for some of you to hear this, but there are very few things that real Italians in Italy or from Italy, very few things that they actually put cheese on, okay? Especially since here in America, we've become used to things like chicken parmesan, all right? And veal parmesan, and things like that. Well, sorry to burst your bubble, but chicken parmesan and veal parmesan are American dishes. They're not Italian dishes. They don't exist in Italy. Eggplant parmigiana, on the other hand, does exist in Italy. It's one of the few things that you'll find them actually put sauce and cheese on. However, they generally don't put mozzarella on a Parmigiana dish. A Parmigiana dish is just Parmigiana cheese, Parmesan cheese. So over there, if you get eggplant Parmesan, you're going to get it with sauce and Parmesan cheese. So anyway, enough about the history lesson. Today's Parmigiana, I'm actually going to give you some amounts today. I don't normally do that because everything's kind of like, you know, how much you want to make and this and that. This is going to make you a cake-sized, I don't know, cake-sized dish, all right? And the consistency of it is going to be somewhat like quiche, but different. Not quite. So for those of you guys out there going, quiche, listen, relax, all right? Relax. Or like my father used to say, relaxy, all right? So here it goes. You're going to need 2 really, really good size heads of Swiss chard. You're going to need about 4 or 5 big cloves of garlic. You're going to need some real Italian bread. Nice, crusty, real Italian bread. You're going to need eggs. And you're going to need some grated Parmigiana or Pecorino Romano cheese, or both. Some people do mix them, all right? My mother used to use exclusively Pecorino Romano. We didn't generally have Parmigiana in the house. It was always Pecorino Romano because from the southern tip of the boot, where my parents came from, Reggio Calabria, that's what they used because their cheese was made from goat's milk. And that's Pecorino Romano, that's your goat's cheese, all right? So, what you're gonna do is you're gonna take your big pasta pan, fill it up with water, get that up to a good boil, and you're gonna, after cleaning your Swiss chard, you're just gonna dump the Swiss chard in there with 4 to 5 whole cloves of garlic. You're gonna boil your garlic right along with your Swiss chard. Let it boil until your Swiss chard is tender, until the garlic can be smooshed easily, okay? That's when how you know when it's done. So you're gonna take that out, you're gonna strain the whole thing into a spaghetti strainer, okay? What we used to call ascolapasta. So once you strain it all out, then you're actually gonna get in there and you're gonna squeeze out as much water as you can get out of it, all right? To the point where you've got nothing but a damp ball of greens and garlic, okay? Try to squeeze it out as much as you can. Put it in a bowl, mixing bowl. Then you're gonna take some Italian bread, okay? Start off with like 2 good size slices, okay? Good, when I say good size, not, not American style where they cut it so thin you could see through it. Good chunky size slices, all right? Start off with 2 and see where that takes you. What you're gonna do is you're going to take that bread and you're gonna run it through the tap real quick, all right? Just to get it damp. You don't wanna get it wet to the point where it's gonna turn back into dough, or get all destroyed. Just damp. And then you're gonna squeeze out the water. Throw that in your mixing bowl. Take 2 eggs, crack them, throw that into your mixing bowl. Now you're gonna take your grated cheese, your Parmigiana or your Pecorino Romano or both, your choice. And you're gonna sprinkle in enough, and you might want to adjust this, and this is gonna be to the nose, okay? It's not use a cup or half a cup or any of that. When you get this thing all mixed in, and you're gonna mix it all together, all right? So you can start off a little easy with it if you want, with the cheese, and mix it all together like a meatball, okay? You're mixing it like you would mix ground beef and stuff for a meatball. So you're making a Swiss chard ball, I guess. Get it all in there. Stick your beak in there and take a good whiff and see what it smells like. If the Parmigiana smell, that cheese smell, is faint, add a little bit more. If it's good and strong to where the other smells are mixed in and you can smell the garlic and the Swiss chard and the yeast from the bread, you're gonna get that nice blend, all right? It's kind of like discerning the smell of a good pipe tobacco. You're gonna get that nice whiff. You'll know when it's right because you're gonna stick your nose in there and you're gonna go, oh, that smells unbelievable. Now you got it, all right? So, now take a cake pan, a round or square or even a rectangle cake pan, okay? The sides are about that high, right? Round. Don't use one of those bundt cake pans. Bundt cake, bundt. What the hell is that? Who came up with that? Bundt was something we did when we played baseball, okay? And to make matters worse, they added a D in there somewhere, so it's not even bundt, it's bundete. Anyway, don't use one of those. You want a nice flat, round, square, or rectangular cake pan, or even a round or square or rectangular Pyrex dish. You know how they got the nice high sides on them? Perfect. Don't go too big though, because you don't have a lot of stuff here. You want to pack that down in there, good and packed, so that it fits. You don't want it to come out that high because you spread it out too thin. You want it to be about the thickness of just below the rim of that pan that you're using, okay? You don't need to oil the pan or none of that stuff, okay? You can if you want to, but you don't need to, all right? Then what you're going to do is you're going to take that pan and you're going to throw it in an oven at 350 for between 45 minutes and an hour. I say 45 minutes to an hour because every oven's different. The heating elements are different. Not every oven does the same. Gas will work one way, electrical will work another. 45 minutes to an hour. And you're going to leave that light on so that you can look. Don't open the door. If you open the door, you failed this project. My mother always said, if you open that door, I'm going to kill you. There's a reason for that, because you let the heat out and now you screwed up the whole cooking time. So leave the light on so you can look in. When you look in, you're going to see the top get kind of golden brown and starting to look like it's a little crusty. When you get that look, you're done. Take it out, put it on a cooling rack, leave it alone, let it cool. After she cools, now hopefully you didn't make this thing so that it's really wet, because the Swiss chard always throws off liquid no matter what. I don't care how good you squeeze it out. Plus you got egg in there, all right? So the bottom is always going to be a little bit wet, but you don't want it too wet because then it won't set up, and when you go to scoop it, it scoops out like pudding. You don't want that, all right? After it cools, even while it's still a little warm, you're gonna cut it like you would a pizza slice, okay? Pie slice, whatever. Cut it, scoop it out, put it in a dish, pour yourself a red glass of wine, a glass of red wine. I talk backwards, I'm Italian, what can I tell you? Deal with it. And you're gonna eat like you never ate before, all right? Like I said, this was one of my favorites growing up, and I make it quite a bit. My wife makes it almost as good as my mother, so it's another tradition that I've managed to carry on in the Sergeant Savinelli household. All right? So give it a shot. Tell me what you think. And listen, from all of you non-vegetable eaters out there, I don't want to see any thumbs down on this video, okay? None of this dislike crap. You're not allowed to say you don't like it until you try it, okay? That's the rule in this house. And if you don't like it, the restaurant's down the street. Hey, buon appetito, tanti saluti, and give it a shot. Let me know what you think. I'd be curious to hear your take on an old Italian favorite. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you on the next one.